Welcome, everyone. I want to apologize, first of all, last week for not having a class, particularly the people who are listening to us in Patreon. Due to a Hurricane Henri that was going through where we are in the East Coast, I canceled the class because a couple of people had called about having connectivity issues and there were potential power outages areas. And I thought it would be wise for people to worry about the storm rather than try to be online while this was moving through. Tonight, what I want to do is that I want to continue a discussion of 2 weeks ago, kind of related to this idea of truth, authenticity, and transparency. But more specifically, as it relates to this whole debate about what is freedom. So many people in the light community are trying to, because of the light of truth that's hitting the entire solar system, they are trying to come to terms with the concept of freedom. Let me begin by saying right here that freedom is not the same thing as liberation. One can have freedom as a right, but to be liberated implies that you are shackled and enslaved to begin with. Whereas freedom is something that you could have had since birth. I want to explore this and expand it because there's so much in there to be for us to understand, particularly now that there are so many people who are claiming freedom for not agreeing to do what is being demanded from them by their authority, government, and I'm not trying to take a position and telling people what's right or wrong. I'm not telling you what to do. This is your grown, you can do that on your own. But I want to point out to some important details that relates to the concept of what it is to be free. To be free doesn't mean that you have to be contrary, and it doesn't mean that you have to resist rule and try to oppose what you're being told. It seems that there are so many meme and videos on the internet of people who are claiming those kind of things by starting altercation with others because everyone is trying to do something else. I think that behavior is that of an infantile, impetulant teenager. And it's very unbecoming of us who are supposed to be the enlightened one, who are supposed to be the way showers, who are supposed to be the one that are demonstrating ascendance to the world. I think that this idea and this concept may be new to many people. I just saw this a great video, it's in French, of this reporter, this philosopher who was talking about the idea of freedom as it relates to, along the same vein of what I'm going to be discussing right now. I personally see freedom completely differently. If you are behaving in a manner where you're saying, I am free and I can do whatever I want, and there are no consequences and no connection whatsoever to the effect that I'm going to create on the collective, on the community, and that I can do whatever I pleased, and I am the lone wolf and the free agent, and I am in my moat and I can do whatever the hell I want. This is not freedom. This is not freedom at all. freedom, as it relates to true freedom, is when you begin to realize that it is in the fulfillment, the true and actual fulfillment of your soul purpose. And it can only happen when you find inside of you what that authentic core frequency is like. If you are responding to the outside world and outside pressure by you making political and social statements that are anti this or anti that, this is a preliminary understanding, or rather a reactive understanding of what freedom may be. True freedom, where there is deep and profound wisdom connected to it, has to do with you making choices that are aligned to that soul purpose. And for that to happen, you have to find your authentic core, and you have to know sovereignly who you are and what you are. Now, those concepts are very deep because authenticity is not, it's not you saying no to everyone and you trying to be on your own. Your authentic core is actually a vulnerable, breakable, and extinguishable point in you, where if you feel that if you were to reveal this to the world will destroy it, and the world will completely not understand, nor agree, nor acclimate, nor support that part of you, and therefore you have to hide it. So finding that vulnerable core and nourishing that and trying to bring it to the forefront and trying to align your life to this, that's an act of freedom. That's an act of true liberation. Because in this instance, you're not being triggered emotionally, but outside events, circumstances, noise, loud things that are triggering you into a reactive, knee-jerk response. Rather, you're going into your core and you're finding truly who you are, and you're trying to bring forth that vulnerable part of you. And that vulnerability is you authentically trying to express how you're going to reflect the light of God in you. Each one of us have a unique energy signature, a unique footprint, a unique way in which we will manifest or show or demonstrate what God is to us. And this is what that authentic core looks like. Initially, it's something we want to bury because most people on the planet are trying to be reactive to and acclimate to an external level of acceptance so that we can be like others and we can mirror what others are doing. To be in your authenticity is to forego all of that acceptance, to completely ignore all of that, and to want to express yourself and be completely true to exactly who you are. Meaning that you're gonna be ostracized, you're gonna be ridiculed, you might chance people not looking at you the right way because you're trying to demonstrate and show up in a way that will allow you to be exactly, express the divinity in a way that is unique to you. Now, most people on the planet are not capable of doing this because they have been domesticated into believing that for their entire life, they have to be like somebody. They have to have so much money. They have to marry well. They have to have so many cars, that kind of environment, so many kids, the dog, there's a whole bunch of things that they have to have in order for the world. So they're playing roles. They are wearing masks. They are being false. They're not being truly authentic to who they are. Till you can find that authentic core, which is a unique and unusual way that you're going to express divinity, the light that God has given you, and you're going to exist in that frequency. And that is typically terrifying because it's so unlike anyone else that most of us, because we've been domesticated by the environment to fear of being ostracized, that we all try to become something else. There's not one person on the planet that has not done this, including me. And so to try to find that core and to try to express it is something that requires a tremendous amount of courage. And once you begin to find it, and I've said this in the class 2 weeks ago, that authentic core is not a profession. It's not you being a doctor, a fireman, a nurse, or an astronaut. It's actually sometimes a feeling or something that when you do, you become alive. All the wrinkles are gone and you feel completely aligned and you're in serenity and in peace. The challenge always, particularly when we're living in 3D, is once you find whatever that is, whether it is you being doing a hobby, or you're walking in the forest, or while you're walking, you're connected to the trees and you're aligned and you're beginning to hear and sense other things. It's to try now to create a business model, because we have to make money to live, out of this and try to chart a way for people to pay you or to charge money that relates to that activity, that feeling, that sensation that you have when you are authentically in your expression of your divinity. And that always is the challenge, is this translation. First, you have to identify what the authentic core is, which is actually your freedom, because when you're in that space, you are unburdened because all of the other shackle, the mask, and everything else that you're supposed to wear and you do or against, for, etc., all of it drops. And if it all drops and what remains behind is authentically you shining God's light, the way God has sent you to shine that light, then you have successfully connected to your true expression of the divine. And the challenge will be for you from this point forward to find a way to now do this for the rest of your life. Now, actually, to be perfectly honest, when we were children, between the ages of 1 and 5, something in the course of what we were doing during that time frame will be authentically true. It will be authentic core. And it is often, for people who are seeking it, for them to go back to those moments in childhood to find, for example, the memories in which during those time frames you were happy. What were you doing? Where were you? Who were you with? What kind of activity were you doing? What feelings were you feeling? What sensation were you? And if you can explore this, it can begin to unravel for you the mystery and the discovery, because it's like seeking a buried treasure. You have to go deep to get to that authentic core. And once you get into it, this is what you should be doing for the rest of your life. Because that's why, and in fact, God does not want any of us to be a cookie cutter of someone else. We are all unique expression of the divine. We all should live in a society that actually nourishes, fosters us to be authentically true to who we are. But it's the exact reverse. We live in an environment, a society, in the world, on the planet, where we have to be like everyone else. The educational system is created not to let the individuality of the person flourish and their own authentic expression flourish, but to have us take standardized tests, to have us acclimate and become this, that, or the other. By the time you enter college, you have to declare your major. You have to know which direction you're going to go. I spent 5 years in college, an extra year, because I didn't know what I wanted to be. 1 year or one semester, I thought I wanted to be this, the next semester, I wanted to be that. And I didn't know. Because again, I was confused. I was trying to acclimate. I was trying to be what other people want me to be rather than me being myself. And I locked out that during taking art classes that I was taking, so-called to relax away from the chemistry and all the crazy science class I was taking, thinking that this is what the world wanted me to be. And in the process of doing the art stuff, all of a sudden I'm realizing I had these experiences that were so blissful and so incredibly. I remember one time I was working on the sculpture, and a snowstorm started. Everybody had left the studio. The studio closes, the sculpture studio closes at 10 o'clock. I was so enamored and chiseling and doing what I was doing that the guy that runs the studio was time to go. He was about to turn off the light, time to leave. And he saw how I was looking at the work and I was so enamored with it. He said, okay, you can step here. Just turn off the light and pull the door on your way out. The snowstorm fell in. 24 inches of snow fell that night. And I was not supposed, because the campus closes after 12 o'clock. I was not supposed to be there. I had to wait for the security guard to move out of the way for me to jump the gate in the snowstorm to walk back to my house. And I remember I couldn't eat. I was so riveted by the creative process and what I was doing. I was so completely mesmerized, like I fell in love and I was enamored with every aspect of what I was doing. And the next day when I came back the moment, I ran to the studio to go back to the piece again to continue to work on it. I couldn't sleep. It occupied me. And I was very lucky at that moment. I'm like, okay, I have to move my direction toward something creative, because this is really where my authentic core is, not in the science and the mathematics. And although I could do it, but it's like Chinese water torture for me. I can do it, but it's not my sole purpose. It doesn't make every cell in my body come alive. It doesn't make everything inside of me sing when I go to these chemistry classes and calculus classes, etc. It's always a pit in my stomach. So what I'm saying is that authentic core, that unique expression of the divine, if you can find what that is, this is the beginning of you finding your freedom. Because if you can find the courage to pursue this, and at the time I thought, here's another Black man again with a fine art major. What am I going to do for a living? I'm going to be unemployed, right? This is your fear. You're always thinking about, you're taking all this money is being spent on your education. You're going to be unemployed. Yet I ended up going to one of the best schools for architecture. I ended up being a licensed architect, and I worked professionally and did all that. It became a stepping stone to lead me into what my life is today. And I'm going to tell you, what I am today is no longer an architect as it relates to the physical world, but I'm guiding you into the creation of an inner architecture, into the creation and the discovery of your own inner structure. I am guiding you. And it's along the same line of everything. First memory where I was the most happy. I want to share that with you to give you an idea. I remember I was maybe around 3 years old, and there was an ant farm in front of the house, in the garden in front of the house. And it was hot, and I took mud and I put it around the top of the ant farm, and I created a little castle out of it. And I had a little stick, I created an archway, and I was trying to make the ant move through the archway rather than go on top of it. And my mother was screaming at me, "Come inside, you've been in the sun for hours. Come in, let's eat. I'm gonna give you, you need to take a shower, you're filled with mud." I was the happiest I could think of. And I'm saying this to give you an idea. It's just when I went back to the earliest memory, that was the happiest memory. And I knew, and I ended up being, of course, I'm still a licensed architect, but I am dealing now with inner structures, with cosmic structures, with the understanding of divine structures. And I'm an architect and engineer of things that are the underlying principles that creates the universe. I'm trying to make you understand that when you step into this kind of a process, you enter into your calling and your purpose. It didn't happen all at once. As I said, there was a whole journey. I'm not as young as I look, so I've been around the block a few times, but it took a whole journey for me to get there. So I want you to understand this, and to if you're beginning to explore what the authentic core is to you, you're discovering, for example, I had the memory of me playing with the ant farm. I remember being so happy when I did this. It was the happiest memory that I can think of. And I didn't know how it related to everything else I was doing. The thing that led me into the architecture was the arts, the creative stuff. But it was not just the creative stuff I was supposed to be doing. It was actually understanding structures, the principles of trying to understanding how to manifest, how to create something conceptually from nothing into something. It's the idea of trying to precipitate something from idea, concept. And the Kabbalah, they talk about the world of emanation, the world of creation, the world of manifestation. So it's to have these ideas precipitate, and my consciousness, my soul, understand this completely through and through. And this is my strength. This is my unique way of manifesting and connecting to divine principle. And when I do this in whatever capacity, whether I'm doing it physically by creating a new house, or I'm doing it by helping you with understanding the blockages and the things that are blocking you from you yourself being authentic, when I do this, I become alive. That's my authentic core. And when I do this, I am free. And that doesn't mean that I am not connected to the collective. It means that I'm completely connected to the collective, but I am fulfilling to the collective my puzzle piece, because I am uniquely expressing how the light of God shines through me. And because I'm expressing this puzzle piece, because I'm allowing myself to be so vulnerable, not what the world wanted me to do, because to my mind, when I was in college, I was going to be a scientist. I was going to be, because I had some strength in this, and I thought this is what the world wanted me to be. But it was not what was the calling of my heart. It was me following this idea of creativity, taking things from the world of emanation, the world of creation, and the world of manifestation. And when I am able to do this, when I'm channeling, that's what I do. When I do an intuitive session, that's what I do. Everything that relates to what I'm doing now is exactly connected to that simple principle. I want you to understand this because I want you to think about your life and in what ways what you're doing now or what you're thinking of doing with yourself or with the rest of your life may relate in some way. What I'm saying to you may trigger something in you to help you understand the path that you need to follow. Because we're all masters of self-deceit and we tend to camouflage and hide behind things and make excuses and so on and so forth. So when I hear people talking about freedom in the very infantile and petulant way, thinking that they have to say no to everything that anyone tells them, and this is them being free, and they have the right, and they talk about authenticity and sovereignty. I hear that in the Black community all the time regarding everything as it relates to the political and the social debates that are going now in mass media. People are not understanding what the authenticity is, what the freedom is, nor what sovereignty is. No one is an island. No one can exist by themselves. In fact, the reason we are in the pickle we're in right now in the planet and in 3D, it's because we've been fragmented. It's because we are separated and we think of ourselves as being the ruler of ourselves. And we think of ourselves as being completely separated from anyone else with no link and no social norm or responsibility to anyone else. When you are taking actions and you're not considering how you're connected to the rest of the community, and for that matter, the planet, the reason why the climate change issues we have right now, there's another storm that's moving through Louisiana, the storm that just passed last week here, another hurricane. All of this is related directly to the action we've taken for the past 150 years, because men has not thought about their action as it relates to the environment. If you don't take action, when you're taking the action, you don't think about the consequences of and the effect that you're going to have on other people and on the environment, on your soul and your connection to the divine, you're fooling yourself. You're going to end up in a place which is what's happening right now. The whole planet is in a place where catastrophically we have all of these events that are taking place that just last week, was it Wednesday? In Argentina. It was Brazil 3 weeks ago in Argentina. It snowed all over Argentina. And I don't mean small snow. I mean something like 1.5 feet of snow. A place that has palm trees, 1.5 feet of snow. This is what I'm talking about. All of it, the result of us thinking that we are, sovereignty means I can do whatever the hell I want. If this was sovereignty, then this is the result of those crazy, infantile, childlike behaviors. I am inviting you into the understanding of something deeper, something much more profound, that if you can connect to that authentic expression of the divine that exists in you, you will begin to realize that when you're in that space where you're connected to, for example, for me, when I'm connected to these inner structures that gives me, because I can quickly tap into inner structures and understand the world of emanation. I can understand it very quickly. It's very easy for me because this is my soul purpose. And from there, I can begin to get all of the step that needs to happen to manifest it in physical reality. And so when I am in that state, I am allowing the vast and immense cosmic structures and principles to move in their unique way through me. Now, the way they move through me, they're not going to move through you that way because you're different, and it shouldn't be. No one is like me. No one is like you. You have a unique way in which you are created, and your manifestation of the divine is going to take a different expression. And it is as it should be, because each one of us will manifest a puzzle piece, a unique expression of the divine, a unique vibratory signature, a unique understanding of this cosmic wave and principle that we're going to figure out a way to express. And once you're allowing it to express and to show up in you, it will begin to alter people around you. Sometimes, some of us, the role that we have to play is just to radiate out certain kind of feelings and emotion. I had that experience this afternoon around 1 o'clock when I went to Waterfront to do my meditation. It was overcast. Not a lot of people were there. Animal, dog, kids, everything was stopping in front of me. This young child was walking in front of his parents. He walked right up to me. I mean, literally, I was sitting on the bench. He walked right up to me, and he's looking at me like this. I waved at him, said, hi. Again, what was I doing? I had just done the monadic merging. I was radiating light. And in the principle, I'm sorry, I gotta end this call. And in the principle and the idea of me expressing that divine and showing up in that space, suddenly everyone was, this other woman was walking his dog. The dog ran right up to me and started licking my hand, my toes. And when I'm sorry, I said, I don't mind. Because I had just done the merger and I was radiating the cosmic principle were beaming through me. It wasn't me they were recognizing. They were recognizing divinity through me. So what I'm saying is that when you're able to connect and be truly authentic in who you are, what you are, sometimes your role and your purpose could be something very simple. I remember this mystic from Chile said her role often is just to go sit on the park bench, to sit on the park bench next to someone for 2 hours. And after 2 hours is done, spirit tell her to move, and she moves. Whatever she needed to radiate to them, went through them, and that was the part that she was supposed to play. Sometimes it's just a broadcast. And today in the afternoon, from 1 o'clock until 2:30, I demonstrated it. I was not seeking it. Everyone was running and was acknowledging. It has happened before, but today was particularly frequent in that period of time. It was, you know, when I was done with the merger, it was almost every third or fourth person that walked by, they were acknowledging me in some ways, trying to start a conversation. This other woman said, good morning. And she's like, oh, I suppose it's afternoon. I said, yes, indeed, it is afternoon. You have a blessed day. I bowed to her. And this went on and on and on and on. So the idea that when you are being free, you don't behold the environment is completely false. In fact, what it does is that it connects you to everything and everyone in such a profound way that you enter into similar state as when you have the murmuration of millions and millions of starlings. you enter into a connection to a morphogenic field and a morphogenic awareness with everything else that's all around you. And you align in such a deep and profound way that you you listen to and you're being heard, and the burden that you have, the fear, the concern, are brought up to that field, and the vast and immense field bless you with the solution set, and all the burdens are removed. All the fears are completely moved out of the way. And you end up at this point having an experience that's completely different. Each one of you have a unique, and it shouldn't be what someone else is expressing. Your way of expressing divinity will be unique because you are like fingerprints. Your unique fingerprint is your energy signature. And it is your entire purpose in life is to manifest that uniqueness. You are born here for no other purpose but to manifest divinity in that unique way. Not like anyone else, but unique to you. And if you can do this, you have achieved successfully what you came here to do, because your puzzle piece is shining. And in the process of doing this, you're going to connect to this blessed field, this immense, vast, and infinite quantum realm, where energetically and cosmically you're connected to everything that there is. Because when everyone is in sync and aligned into this, there is a super intelligence that controls this vast field. You can call it God, you can call it whatever you want, because nomenclatures and wording in that realm are difficult to express, because things are multidimensional and multisensory, and it's very hard to pin it to one thing. But in that realm, when you're in it, what happens is that you connect to energies. And however you are going to express the divine, maybe your way of expressing the divine is for you to play music, to sing. Maybe it's to art. Maybe the way you're going to express it is by you walking into the room, and just your presence is enough. For others, it might be you holding somebody and embracing them. It could be all different kind of things. Whatever that unique thing is, that is your unique way of expressing the divine, when you are in the situation when you're doing it, you know, because at that moment you become alive, you can feel that cosmic energy dropping through you. That cosmic energy will drop into your being, and you're no longer the same, because it is not you now, it's divinity manifesting through you. And at that point, you're not only free, authentic, and sovereign, but you now have rested your entire consciousness into something higher than you. You have completely given and surrendered yourself to a principle that's so vast and so infinite, words cannot even begin to describe it. And the strength, the power, and the perpetually renewal process that when you're doing this, that you're engaged into, is not describable by any 3D wave vocabulary in any manner or form. To be free is to be in that state. Because at that point, although you're aligned and connected to a vast and infinite collective, you're the freest that you can ever be. Because you're fulfilling your unique expression of the divine, and your puzzle piece is, it's like if you're a bird and you're trying to be a fish. This is us camouflaging. But when you are a bird and you begin to fly and you begin to soar in the air and you're allowing yourself to glide the wind, you now are fulfilling your purpose. And as you glide the wind, you now realize who you are, what you are, and you begin to, as you're flying, feel freedom. I am inviting you into that kind of higher understanding. Not the one that everyone is talking about. You know, I see people talking about, I want to have choice. I want to have my freedom and my sovereignty. I want to have this. There's so many political and social things that are going on out there that are connected to this that people are not understanding. That if you're not connected to something, you're not free. It's you being a petulant child. This is not what freedom is about. Freedom connects to responsibility. In this case, my connection to this vast and immense field, when I am aligned to my purpose, that's when I'm free. Because the sensation when you're in there, aside from rest and clarity, is that I am finally free and liberated. And I'm saying liberated the way I said it before, which is I was enslaved before and I'm now free. Because in this instance, the liberation I'm feeling is that whatever else I thought I was, you know, Little Mermaid, Bambi, Cruella de Vil, Ursula the Witch, whatever I thought I was, that's not who I am. And when I step into that truth, all the false belief and the shackle I had, all of them drop. All of the chain just dropped to the floor. And I begin to soar, fulfilling my soul purpose. So it is in the understanding of this that I'm inviting you to explore the concept of freedom. We all want freedom, but the freedom I'm talking about is a freedom that can only be achieved by you not listening to some expert online that is telling you should go out on the street and burn stuff, and you should be demanding your freedom and saying that or the other, and you should mobilize and this is not freedom. This is you being controlled by someone who's trying to radicalize you and agitate you. What I'm talking about here is you going within and finding the part of you that is truly, that you had forgotten and buried so deep because you're so afraid of demonstrating that vulnerability to the world. And if you can find it and express it, again, initially, I've talked about this 2 weeks ago, you may want to bring that kind of vulnerability to a person that you love in an intimate setting first, one person. And then from there, this point forward, you come and bring it to, when you're comfortable, to a few more people before you go public with it and start showing it to the rest of the world. I'll never forget, I was doing a program online, And there was over 900 to 1,000 people that were on the live call. They had asked me to talk about spiritual principle. It was a business thing, but they wanted me to talk about the spirituality behind the business and all that business opportunity. And I began to talk. And I talked the way I'm talking to you now. And I said so many things that the spirit took over me. Again, spiritual principle connected to the group body. And I said so many things today that day. And all that I was feeling at the time, I remember saying it because I'd never spoken in front of so many people before on a live feed, that I felt daggers. I felt judgment, like I was being judged, that I had arrows and daggers that were going in me. I did it. Nonetheless, it was just like me. Again, this is what I mean by freedom. I'm doing this call. There are all these people there, and there's a part of me that says, you're doing it now, Pierre. They're going to judge you. They're going to ostracize you. This is one part of my brain, and the other part doesn't care. And I'm expressing, as I'm talking to you now, spiritual principle about abundance, about flow, about the same principle, you being unique. As I'm talking, I'm thinking to myself, I could feel, I sense judgment. I sense people were rejecting me. We're thinking that I'm crazy, that I'm a weirdo. Because nobody in that group has ever spoken this way before. Everybody was thinking that there was something wrong with me. And I simply was like, okay, when the call ended, there was a few comments, we appreciate you, brother, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And when the call ended, I immediately shut off the computer. Maybe the call ended by 9:30. I shut off everything. I unplugged all my phones, and I went to bed under my comforter, and I took all my crystals with me because I felt vulnerable. I felt exposed. I thought everybody was judging me because, again, even though I was demonstrating my freedom, my core, my vulnerable part of me, who I really am, I was letting God shine through me. The part of me that's human felt judged and crucified. I'm being perfectly candid and honest with you by explaining this. So I went to sleep. It turns out that my sister Marjorie was on the call. She tried to call me that night. Again, as I said, I blocked everything. I was feeling too vulnerable. The next day, she called me. She says, Pierre, did you go back on the Facebook feed on that page? Did you read the comments? I said, no, I have not gone. I felt judged. She said, what are you talking about? You should see what people are saying. They are praising you. They are in awe. They keep saying, who is this man? What is it? This was extraordinary. The exact opposite happened. But the fear on the other part of my brain that was worried about the 3D, how people are going to perceive me, was there. And I had to have the courage to express this freedom and the way God wanted to come to me. I'm telling you, the next day when I read a few comments, and after that, I was too embarrassed. It was the other part of me. I was too embarrassed. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to read any more of these comments because I'm too embarrassed about this. Too many compliments. I'm going to stop because I don't want my head to get too swollen, too big. I'm going to stop right there. I didn't see a negative comment. But at the time, I felt, again, I knew God was moving through me. I knew what I was saying was, and it moved, it passed through me. But I knew when I was done, I felt the vulnerability. I felt exposed. Again, I've never spoken, by the time the video was played, it probably over almost 2,000 people watched it on the replay and everything else. But at the time, it was about 900 people live. And the more people were coming in and the more I'm realizing, I'm like, okay, now you've done it, Pierre. You've said too many things. So what I'm trying to guide you into understanding is that when you're expressing that part of you that's authentic, you're going to initially walk through cold. because you have to break a glass ceiling to go on the other side of it. I'm sure if I were to talk to the same number of people again, I wouldn't be in that space. This happened several years back. I'm not the same person anymore. I know I'm completely different now. I had an opportunity later on to speak to about 350 people. I was okay. I didn't go through that kind of agitation, and none of that happened. But what I'm saying is that initially, the first time you do it, you're going to feel, because we're human, you're going to have to break this barrier, this fear barrier, what I call fear pockets. You're going to have to break them so that you can move through to allow that, because all your life you've been told you must be like everyone else. You have to acclimate, you have to be in alignment, you have to be, for you to suddenly let yourself be seen for who you really are, which is the God within you, is a very vulnerable experience. And that vulnerability is your authenticity. And through that authenticity, divinity moved through me because I was being so true and so honest and so sincere that whatever they needed to hear, God spoke to them through me. There was not one negative comment in that thread. There were lots of pastors and religious people. And you know, the way I speak is it's not anti-religion, but it's certainly not limited to biblical texts. I'm bringing all kinds of other principles in. There were all, but one person noted and said, the Holy Spirit was speaking to this man. And so what I'm saying is that I'm realizing, I'm trying to encourage you that in the event that you were to connect to that authentic core, initially start small. Don't jump into a situation where you have all these number of people where you have to present. Start small. And then from that point, you can begin to open yourself up to more and more people. There is a direct relationship between the true expression of your freedom and the collective that you belong to. And I don't mean by that just human collective. I mean by that cosmic collective that includes the planet, the stars, and includes everything. There is a direct link, and you cannot, no one can exist as a separate fragmented self when you are that deep into your core. If you're that true and that authentic, when you're in that space, you're in higher consciousness. And that higher consciousness has no fragmentation in it. There is no separation. When you speak and when you're that authentic, you're directly connected to infinity times infinity, and source is speaking through you. If you align yourself and surrender yourself completely and allow spirit to move through you, things will come out of you that will surprise you, even particularly when these things are recorded. They will surprise you even after you hear it yourself. And like for myself as well, when all my classes, I channel everything as I begin to speak. A lot of time I have to play the video back and I have to take notes. Because even I, as I'm saying it, didn't know it. Meaning Pierre. But spirit, the cosmic force that I'm connected to, the collective, the morphogenic field, has so much information as I'm speaking to you and I'm communicating it to you. It's moving through me. And these principles, Pierre needs to understand afterwards, because as an individuality, as a separate consciousness, I have to now increase my wisdom. At the moment of me transmitting it, I am broadcasting it. I become the loudspeaker through which the voice moves through, or the energy gets broadcast. But once I am back to my human self, I too need to receive it. A lot of time, the meditation that I channel, I then have to play the recording and receive the meditation later on, because it's a different experience to give it than it is to receive it. When I give it, it is spirit moving through me. When I receive it, I'm in a passive state and I allow it to come to me. Any questions, any comments?
Okay, I didn't know what you all were talking about, prior to me coming into the call, but I was having an experience that's somewhat similar to what you are describing, and I got lost in the praise. And this has been most of the afternoon, and I was earlier this afternoon. I was, resting because I don't know how I twist my ankle, but some kind of way I twist my ankle and I wind up with some kind of tendonitis in that and that foot. And so I was supposed to stay off this foot. So I'm saying to myself, what in the world is happening? And I had this dream. And I said, I don't even want to talk about this dream. And then I'm laying on my bed, and this was about 1:30 in the afternoon or 2 o'clock, something like that. And then I heard these drums beating from like afar, but it was my daughter upstairs playing the drums. And so I got up and I went upstairs, and I was inspired to take the drum as well and play, and we played and played and played and played this drum. And I got so lost in the praise, in giving the praise. I said, well, I have a class at 6 o'clock, so I'm going to go back downstairs. And so Dane said, well, you already 15 minutes late if you've got a class. And I said, how did that time go? I was absolutely lost in the praise, because in this dream, and I'll speak about it, it just seemed, I thought I was in this big, large auditorium, and I was seated toward the back of the auditorium, and I was clapping my hands to the music, that was playing. And then someone on a microphone said, Solidia, your praise is not accepted. And I want to know, what was that church you were going to? And this person was just talking and talking and talking. And now this is all in a dream now that I'm talking about. And I'm saying to myself, what is this person talking about? Why would not my praise be accepted here in this auditorium? And I said, if my praise is not accepted here in this auditorium, I said, I'll praise wherever I am. I'll go and I'll praise wherever I am. So I didn't tell my daughter anything about this dream. And so when I heard these drums in the distance, and this was a calling, these drums were calling me out, to come out. And when I came upstairs, this energy that I didn't have when I was downstairs, this energy just started to run all through me. And I wind up playing the drums and, giving way to let the spirit just come through. Mm-hmm. And I can't explain to you in any other kind of way, except that you don't know when you're going to have that really authentic moment. Your mind may be on something else, and when it happens, it'll come through you like somebody pouring liquid to the top of your head, just through your body. Right now, my hand is aching because I've been playing for 3 hours playing these drums and just allowing the spirit to have its own way. And so I just said, sometimes I cannot be scientific. I can only tell you to be open to that time of your visitation. Because it's not, you can't plan for it. You just have to be open and receptive and allow it to do its perfect work in you at that particular time. And I don't know who's on the call today, but on the Wednesday's class when you were talking, and I was thinking about that first WESOC 2008. And I was thinking about how unfamiliar I was with all of these different things you were talking about. And you gave me this, I'm sorry, you gave me this piece of paper and you said, I want you to go up and I want you to read this. And it was a prayer, was one of those clearing, I think it was a 50-point clearing.
50-point cosmic clearing, yes.
Yes, and I looked at this thing, I said, I was not familiar with anything on that paper. And you said, no, you just go ahead and you do this. And I read it, and I just tried to read it as it was a meditation to give you just I didn't know how long you're supposed to pause, what you're supposed to say, or what you're supposed to do, but I just did it. And I thought about, when you are doing something, not because intellectually you are connected, and you can give an explanation for anything that is, but I felt it was right. I felt it was right. And I allowed myself to just go ahead and do just sheerly on faith. Sheerly on faith. And if you don't understand, and I'm saying I'm still not now still trying to understand when you hit a different frequency, because Her Majesty used to say that to us all the time. She said, one day you're going to hit a particular vibration that you're just going to lift off, so you don't have to worry about whether you can explain or if you even truly can understand it intellectually. Just do it by faith, one step at a time, opening up and allowing, Spirit to lead you and guide you. And I think one of the reasons why so many people feel like they can't do it is because they don't feel like they can explain something. But you don't have to explain. You just have to just be. There's something in you that is that cosmic memory that you don't know at what point you're going to be opened up, and that full remembrance will come. But as long as it feels okay to you, I'm not telling you to do something that you feel like is totally against, whatever it is, your understanding. But if it feels okay to you energetically, then take that faith walk until that knowledge becomes wisdom. And that wisdom is leading you to a place where the certainty will come. So just relax. And I'm still sitting here in a state of absolute, when I don't say bliss, but I feel like somebody that's out there somewhere. And I don't know what I look like to you, but I know what I feel like to myself. And like I said, I didn't know what the conversation was, but the practical experience is one that I'm having in this moment. And so I could just say, just the fact that you're here and you're listening gives you and moves you closer to that moment of receiving that energetic upgrade, that cosmic experience, and all of the things that you think that you want, because you could say, I want to have my experience this way or that way. Well, hey, you don't know how that is going to come for you. So, and like you say, you can't compare yourself to the person sitting next to you, because you don't know what is their journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so when my I would say, I call her my granddaughter because this is my sister's granddaughter. And this child has just come to me from a place where I know she wants to be connected, to, my sister and to that love. And 2 weeks ago, she came to my house, unannounced. She said, she called me on Thursday and said, I may come on a Friday or a Saturday. Well, she was there the next morning. And I'm like, and she brought her boyfriend, which I was like, hey, give me some heads up on this stuff. But I opened my door to them. I let them come. I let them stay. They stayed a whole week. And she stayed with me while he visited with his mother. Now, he's an only child. His mother and he were estranged from each other, but I can't say kid, he's a nice young man. And when Gabrielle called to talk to me, she said, Tanti, she said, I just want you to, just want to tell you this. She said, Quincy's mother died. Now she was here not even 2 weeks ago. Suppose I had closed the door to him and not allowed him to come in, because I'm like, yeah, you didn't tell me you were bringing your boyfriend and blah, 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 and you're staying here, and so he can visit his mother. That was the last opportunity he had to see his mother on the earth. And so today, now this woman is only 50 years old. She died in her sleep. Something happened. They don't know exactly what happened. They're doing, what do you call those, toxicology or whatever.
Autopsy or toxicology.
They're doing those kind of tests to see what happened to her, because she had some supposed to be minor surgery supposedly, but she went to sleep and she didn't wake up. Now, when all of these things was happening, I was feeling what a mother feels, and for her only child. And because they had not, been getting along before, they had that 3 days together. And it was 3 days where he didn't have to be concerned about whether he would be welcome here. Because I could think of 1,000 ways I could have said, no, you can't bring some guy up in my house and you're gonna stay here and blah, blah. But I didn't. I was operating from that place, from the heart. And I said, if she chooses to come to me, I'm gonna have her, my door is gonna be open to her. And if she brings her friend, then he will be welcome also. And you know the size of my apartment down here. So to have 2 other people staying on top of me, it wasn't the most comfortable thing, but he needed that love. He needed to know that he would be welcome. He's welcome here. And so when Gabrielle said they're fighting a lot because she was married, but she never divorced this man. So this man came up from Georgia, who was her husband, who of the last 3 years or something like that. So now the son and all this friction. And so I asked for the energy to be cleared, that they could take care of the things that they need to do in order to take care of the tying up the loose ends of someone's human life. And so the things that we're learning here, as far as your own DNA reconstruction, your own putting yourself back into allowing the divine design to be the mold you're working from, rather than the mold that the world has, caused us to be into, this hardness and, very superficial you know, like you talking about being sovereign over what? You know, nobody going to tell me what to do. No, you know, those kind of attitudes is what is prevalent in the world. But to be able to come from the place where you are a beautiful spiritual being having a human experience, and then now just that fast, that human experience is closed. That person moves back to spirit. You're still here trying to figure out what it is that you can do. And no one is telling you these things. This is the whole thing. Nobody is telling you how to be coming from that place within you that is open and receptive to the love that you are. No, everybody's looking at a grab. It's the thing that I think the things that you're talking about, they should be taught it should be mandatory to be taught in high school before you go to that next level where you're going to go out into the world, because you are really affected by everybody's thought. You're affected by people's actions and inactions when they should act, when they should lend a helping hand, and people withdraw because they don't want to be involved until the tragedy hits them. Then, of course, they want someone else to come from a heart place to help them, but they would withhold that same help from giving it to someone else. So if when you said all those people that heard you and they talked to you, if you can just show one other example of how you can show up as a man in this world and be a caring, sharing human being, not just, get what I can for myself. And if I can make money this way, then I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to make that dollar. But in the end, what you going to do with the dollar? What are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with your accumulation? What are you going to do with your title as a whatever it is that you say you want to be? You spend 15 years being a doctor, but you have not, and you have a physical heart, but you never have used that from a place where that divine emotion can come through. That's not what your heart is in your body for. I mean, there's so much stuff. I don't want to take us off our topic, but I'm just telling you the experience that you're speaking about is one that I'm having in this moment. And I'm grateful that divinity can find an outlet because it has to come in before it could go out. So can divinity find an outlet with you? Would you say yes? Would you say yes to being God? Would you say yes to allowing divinity to flow through you? Will you say yes? So I'm just going to allow myself to feel what I'm feeling right now.
Thank you, Celia. Thank you so much. You said quite a bit, and the principle of all these people that are out there who are coming from a place where they are like, I'm sovereign and I'm this and I'm that. This is coming from an understanding of the word sovereignty as dictionary described, but not the spirit of it. There is no spirit in anything that they are saying. It's ego. They're coming from this understanding of freedom, which is completely ego. It has nothing to do with what the real spirit of the word really means. Okay? Because we are only sovereign if we allow divinity to us. If you think you're sovereign when you're standing on you saying no to everything, and you have all your food in your house, you have your gun, you have all your stuff, and you think that's what it is to be sovereign, then you got a problem. Because the changes that are taking place now, particularly the climate change events that are taking place at this moment, no lone wolf will be able to survive it. It will take a village. It will take community. And it will take, more importantly, your alignment to God. And if you're disconnected to that source, if you're not aligned, and the only way you can be connected, if you will, again, it's through that authentic call. If you allow yourself to receive, like you were having in your experience, to be the conduit, to be the inlet, to allow this flow to move through you so that it can come out of you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not allowing this to happen, you got a problem. You got a deep, deep problem, and you will not be able to. The interesting thing I have to say to you, and this is maybe a topic for discussion next week. A lot of people on both sides of the bifurcation, because of the rapid change you're going through, or actually have become mentally unstable.
Yeah, I believe that.
Because I'm noticing that a lot of these people, their personality have completely changed. People I thought I knew, whose again, character I could have vouched for, the way they're behaving, what they're saying, the kind of crazy venom and rhetoric that's coming from them, the vitriol. It's just like, you're looking at them and like, who is this person? I'm still have hope that they're processing something, but they're processing it aloud. There was a time, and I grew up in the Caribbean, and the principle when I was growing up with my family is that the neighbors are not supposed to know what's going on in the family. So we keep everything secret. We hold it in. Okay? We keep everything in family. And whatever is going on, craziness is going on, stays with the family. No one is to know. But we're living in a different world where everything is being played out in mass media. People are having nervous breakdown on Instagram, on TikTok, on all these mass media platforms. My hope is that they will end up in the right place. Okay, whatever manic depressive experience they have, they'll find a way to level it out and they'll end up in the right place. Because a lot of them, I'm telling you, the way they're behaving right now, I mean, some of them have gone so far deep that I had to unfriend them. I'm like, I'm not following this person anymore. Because I don't want every time I open, because you see their stuff, every time, because I'm friends with them, every time I open it up, I'm seeing this venom, this rage, as a sharing part of my experience. And since it is my choice and I want to curate what I experience, I decided for a few of them, I'm just going to unfollow them for now. Or I'm going to block them because I don't want to see this.
Well, that's the right thing to do, because everything that you see, you're making an impression on your in your mind. And if we're trying, it's like if you're trying to get rid of something, why would you put something else in that place that was worse than what you just took out?
Right.
A worse thought, a worse feeling, a more negative energy. When you're working on becoming that, achieving that state of neutrality that doesn't sway you back and forth. But the more stuff that you see coming at you, if you are trying to get a glass of pure water, you can't keep allowing someone else to drop a dropper full of dirt into the water that you are purifying. You have to stop. There's some things I don't even see anymore because I don't look. I don't look at the news stream. And so, like you're saying, another storm. I've been trying to look at the weather because I know the earth is righting itself. It's shaking itself off. It's taking, and the same thing with you as a body. If you had a lesion or you had a growth on you that was cancerous, you would remove it so that the rest of the body could live. And the earth is doing the same, is shaking off those things that is preventing it from its growth, its ascension. And like you had said before, if no human makes it, the earth itself is still going to ascend.
That's right.
And so it's up to us as supposedly the highest intelligence of the creatures on the planet. And I'm saying creatures in a sense of, beings that are on the planet for what's here. If you have a consciousness and you have an awareness of being able to differentiate between things, you're supposed to make the highest choice. Yep. Another kind of primate doesn't have the opportunity to make a choice, but that's supposed to be your strong suit, is that you're supposed to have this intelligence that's allowing you to cooperate and make choices that would allow for the greatest good of all. Yep. And so if you're not using that, and I don't know why it came to me today, if you had a choice what to do with your time, and you choose to do something, like you said, feed yourself with, filth, feed yourself with every type of thought that is distorted, now maybe you like what do you call those horror stories, but maybe you might look at one once in a while. But would you do this every single day? Every time you make a choice of what you're going to look at, you're going to look at a Stephen King movie. I think that's what his name is. You don't want to see that all the time. You don't want to see that kind of drama all the time. You want to see something pleasant. You want to hear something pleasant. So you will find that's a normal person's consciousness. So we're working at making a better choice. Yep. And so you're offering an alternative. So we'll take a look at it this way. There's as many paths, was only one destination. So if you follow this particular path, this is what, you could do. This will accelerate your growth. Yep. And all I say is make the best choice. Make the best choice that you can in that moment. That's all that you could do. But there are plenty of people who have suffered the consequences of maybe excessive drinking, or whatever, drug addicts or whatever. And if they were to be able to be out of that situation, what would you do? Would you go right back? And my aunt, she was an alcoholic, but when she got sick, she couldn't drink alcohol anymore because she was confined to, a nursing home. They didn't have alcohol there. But her one thought was, well, you know what? If I could leave here today, I'll go get me a drink. And you say, well, Aunt Mildred, as young, and she used to be so beautiful that her nickname was Beauty. That's how pretty she was. And all of that drinking had destroyed everything, destroyed her organs and, everything. But her desire was, if she can get out of there today, she would go get her a drink. And so as we lose our different addictions, may we be filled with more light substance that will allow you to heal into a higher expression, that your desire changes so that you're not going to choose that thing that eroded your health.
Yep, absolutely. All right, thank you, Sylvia. Let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll do the closing meditation on the back end of this. 5 minutes, okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything
to enter into our lives.
Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your head and your heart sync with each other. And realize that you can perceive 360 degrees. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And become aware of all the sensations, perceptions that are surrounding your being. Now find your authentic nature. Find your authentic core. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And try to locate your unique vibratory signature. Try to find your spiritual fingerprint. Locate your unique expression of God. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. In the circle whose circumference is everywhere and whose center is nowhere. My vulnerable, breakable, fragile core exists. It is my unique spiritual fingerprint. It is what I fear to share with the world. It is my way of expressing the vast continents. Let infinity times infinity fall into this unique expression of the divine, its full force. Now let your light shine. Fiat lux. Let the more than 50 trillion cells that are in your body begin to radiate, broadcast, and shine your unique way of releasing your biophotons. Your stored light. Let your entire consciousness release your light as a quasar, pulsating, vibrating, and radiating out a pulse that is unlike anything that this universe has seen before. Let this frequency of freedom and liberation be released to everyone in your circle of influence. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, open your eyes. How are you all feeling? So, any last minute comments or questions before we close? I want to thank all of you for listening to me. For all of you on Patreon, thank you for subscribing. Sending you all my love and my care. Let's look out for each other. Things are going to get a little bit rocky for the next few months. Energetically and also climate-wise, there's some rather unusual weather phenomena that will be happening. More to come. I will let you know about what I'm picking up or what is being picked up in the field. I will let you know very shortly. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Sending you all deep love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.